Okay, Village of Oxford Downtown Development Authority meeting of July 18th, 2022. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Angie Green's not here. I earlier asked Catherine if she would fulfill that role for tonight. So, Catherine, if you would please do the roll call.
Sure. Dorothy Johnston.
Here.
Pete Schultz.
Here.
Rod Charles.
Here.
Marie Powers.
Here.
Ashley Ross.
Here.
And me, Catherine Colby, here.
Okay. Number 4, public comment on non-agenda items with our 3-minute limit. Mr. Jacobson, would you care to rise and introduce yourself, please?
Certainly. Good evening. I'm Brad Jacobson, lifelong Oxford resident. I used to be the chairman of the Lake Orion DDA back about 20 years ago, and I was involved with the DDA there for approximately 16 years overall, and I'm hoping maybe to get involved with the Oxford DDA now. I used to live in the village many years ago, but I'm in the township now.
Cool.
Thank you.
What am I?
No further questions.
Who was that directed to? And he's the best Santa Claus in probably Oakland County, by the way, right?
Oh, yeah.
We try awful hard.
You do a great job. So Brad and I discussed him being on the organization committee with his experience and wisdom. How's that, Okay, the consent agenda. We have our 3 items there, the proposed agenda, the approval of our minutes, and the police report.
So I'll make a motion to receive and file, as long as there are no corrections.
Okay, motion by Dorothy Johnston.
Second.
Second by, I'm sorry.
Marie Powers.
Marie Powers. I didn't hear, I just, Marie Powers. So, Catherine, if you would call for a vote, please.
Over for the roll call?
Yes, let's do a roll call since we're doing anything that involves, let's just do a roll call regardless.
Dorothy Johnston?
Yes.
Pete Schultz?
Yes.
Rod Charles?
Yes.
Marie Powers?
Yes.
Ashley Ross?
Yes.
And me, Catherine Colby, yes.
Okay, there are financials. Item number 6 on our agenda. The financial statements and revenue expenditure reports, and then B, bills, July 22. Mr. Schultz?
I make a motion to approve the financial statements and revenue expenditure reports and paying the bills in the amount of $21,238.02.
Okay, motion by Mr. Schultz,
Second.
second by Catherine Colvin. Some discussion.
I have a question.
Question by
So
Dorothy Johnson.
Nicolette's name's on here, but there's no dollar amount next to it.
Should be like 483, sorry. It was the remainder of the services for mocking up the Consumer's Energy Grant.
Okay.
It was $1,000 total, and the last amount was on the month prior.
So if we add all that up plus that 483, it'll equal the 1758 over?
Yes, yep.
Okay, further discussion? Catherine, would you-
I'm sorry, I got a question.
Ashley?
Can we expense that to the Consumer's Energy Grant once it comes in?
That I don't know.
Okay.
We can definitely talk about that. They weren't very particular about.
I didn't know if we could do it
I think so.
retroactively or anything, because I feel like that'd be an expense going towards that.
Yeah, I would see why not.
Catherine, would you call for a roll call, please?
Sure. Pete Schultz?
Yes.
Rod Charles?
Yes.
Marie Powers?
Yes.
Ashley Ross?
Yes.
Dorothy Johnston?
Yes.
And me, Catherine Colby, yes.
Okay, unanimous. We're now into number 7. DDA reports. Our executive director, your report, please.
Okay, so I had to bullet it out because so much happened this month. We have some big things coming up, the ribbon cutting in Washington Square, our Oakland County accreditation, check presentation to Nora's Bridal. They received the $5,000 Genesis grant, so Oakland County will be here on Wednesday for that. The Stars of Hope project completion was amazing. Thank you, Ashley, for all your hard work on that. And I wanted to mention DPW because they did such an awesome job building that structure. We're just very appreciative of them. Concerts in the park, great attendance every week, but toppermost really I think outdid everything. There were people that were sitting on the back planters on M24, like just trying to find a seat. So it was really, really incredible to see. Farmers Market kicks off Thursday. We have 25 vendors that are confirmed, and after we posted about it on Thursday last week, we had just an influx of people wanting to come, so now we're filling the sidewalk spots outside of the space. We have the confirmed dates and dollars for the trolley sponsorship, so that went through with Liv. And now we have each month that's mapped out, so each month you'll see all of the dates come out at one time, and people are loving it. It's getting more ridership that way, just because people can plan ahead, so that's nice to see. Oxford Bank was amazing and came in with $1,500. We were just having a conversation, and I told him we needed furniture for Washington Square, and he's like, can I write you a check? And I'm like, okay. So he came through with $1,500, so we were able to purchase some picnic tables. So you'll see all of that out there Wednesday. The DPW is putting them together today. I put in a Bridge Builders grant application this month. Ashley and I have been working on the Great American Main Street Award, which is that prestigious award that we have to apply for now, and they don't give till the next time it's actually in March this year at our Main Street conference, so that would be huge for us. So Ashley's been kicking butt, as she always does on that. I had our managers meeting down at the Oakland County offices on Friday. A lot of great things came out of there. They're looking at a DTE grant that is coming out for placemaking that we'll be able to apply for. And we met with Visit Detroit. Their organization really wants to promote more of the Oakland County communities. So we had a whole presentation from their team, so we're going to be doing some things with them, and they pick up on press releases and try to promote us. They have like 1 million hits on just their like social media alone, so it'd be nice to be a part of that. They also have a brewery map, so I thought about that for like you guys, Marie, and for some of the other breweries. That was really cool. We have an Mda event, so the Michigan Downtown Association asked Lake Orion and Oxford to host an event because they were so excited about the trolley and everything that we're doing together. So they're going to be here on August 3rd. So we partnered with them. We're going to start in Lake Orion, ride the trolley back. That's for all the Main Street managers and any of the board members that want to come. And then we're going to gather here in Oxford in the new Washington Square space. And Molly and I got her together and we put a little spin on it to do it as also donations back to Holly, the community of Holly, because of the fire they went through. So we asked any managers that are coming from the communities to do some kind of like basket from their community that then Holly can raffle off the next week at their big event. So we'll be putting something Oxford-centric together to help Holly out as well. And then the Weckel project, actually we got great news on that. So Mr. Weckel is going back and forth the Planning Commission for that top floor, but he has rented out the bottom floor and sold the second floor of that building. And we'll be looking to go back to Planning Commission to rent out the third floor, which wasn't originally in the project. He was going to live up there. It was going to be a condo, but that'll be commercial space now as long as Planning Commission approves it. But the nice thing is his tenants signed an agreement to be in by the end of fall this year. So hopefully that'll move that project along. I think Pete said there were 2 workers out there today. And then the village at their council meeting this past month, they were awesome and approved that half that parking lot that we went back to them for the engineering part of it. And no questions asked, they were happy to support the DDA in that. So that was really good. So it's been a great month.
So you're speaking to the parking lot that still needs to be built in conjunction?
Sorry, no, this is switching gears, the northeast parking lot behind Naps.
Got it.
So that we were taking on roughly 24,000, we agreed to the 12.5, and the village is taking on the other 12.5 for us.
Nice.
Yep.
I'll come back to Mr. Weckel's project. So there's 3 floors. There's a renter,
Sorry,
owner, and a renter?
I'm sorry, so the top 2 floors will be sold. The second one is under agreement right now, and then the third one, after it goes through Planning Commission, will be sold as well. It's just the first floor that will be rented.
And who's the potential purchasers?
So I don't want to say too much, but I know that the first floor is a salon, the second floor is a orthodontist, and the third floor potentially at this point will be a med spa.
Mr., I see our gentleman over here, our village manager, Mr. Medor.
So, when that was originally approved, part of the PUD agreement was it was required to have residential included because there was going to be offices in it. Somewhere in 17, there was an amendment to that removed the requirement for the residential. We have copies of it, but we don't have signed copies of it. Mr. Weckel hasn't been able to locate it. This was prior to my coming to here to the village. Obviously, in some of the down the road, we ended up getting the third and the fourth and the fifth amendment to that PUD as the years went by, right? So I'm trying to verify if in fact that amendment, which removed the requirement for residential, did in fact take place, and we can verify it. Kelly's been trying to look, nothing in the DDAs. I'm gonna maybe look at the planning commission minutes to see that will free it up and make it eligible for that type of use that they're wanting to use on that third floor, and they'll take the requirement out. So,
Questions for Mr. Medor?
Not on that topic.
Dorothy?
Well, in that same project, so are we gaining some parking lot at some point?
yes, that plan is still part of the overall project plan. Yes, I've been asking. I'm not sure what the holdup is so much on removing of that last house there on 46. I think it is East Burdick. We're ready. We're ready to issue a demo permit for that. There's been some holdups on Mr. Weckel's end for that project. That goes down. That is where the parking lot is to part of the driveway coming out. The underground is in. The storm drains are in. The curb are in some spaces, I think, but not complete. So that's the extra 40 or 50 spaces that are part of the project.
What is the time frame on that? Because I can only imagine.
2 weeks ago when I talked to Dave, he popped into my office. He did say that same timing by fall when everything else is complete.
Those parking spots will be
Yeah,
there.
the whole parking lot. So demolition of the house and then the parking lot.
Questions? Joe, question about if you can't find that, what's your backstop?
Well, if that can't be verified that was removed from the PUD, then it may have to go to the planning commission to see if they're willing to make that adjustment to the PUD agreement. I've looked. I got another call from a realtor that's working with one of the buyers today, and she's, I didn't speak to her as a voicemail, and she heard Mr. Weckel had found some documentation and give it to me, but it was we already had the unsigned amendment. He found an article in the paper of the public notice at that time frame that it was going through the planning commission for an amendment. So that's not in our hot little hands yet. We're trying to verify that. 2017, if you recall, was quite a different year here at the village with a lot of people gone and stuff, so I'm not sure what some of those records might be, but one would think that if we ended up getting to an Amendment 2, an Amendment 3, and Amendment 4, that Amendment 1 happened.
We're really optimistic.
So we're trying to go back to that and see if we can find any minutes even to show that that had been approved. And if so, then we would feel comfortable in that, yes, that did take place, and that change to the PUD agreement is valid. That's what's kind of the sticking point on that third floor. And for those who didn't know, it's been turned into a condo situation where Unit 1 is first floor, Unit 2, that's why he's able to sell this floor and rent that floor and things like that. So it's been like that ever since a couple of years now. When you did the title work and changed everything over, it was turned into a 3-unit condo. 1, 2, and 3.
Well, that'll be exciting when we move that thing along, huh? We don't have to talk about it. Maybe for a while. Kelly, quick question on DTE. You know, I showed the board, at one of the Main Street meetings, I met the liaison for DTE, and then this past week, I don't know why, I guess it's some strange thing, but I happened to call and had a contact with, was it Jennifer Whitaker, who's a DTE person, who happened to be sitting next to me at a Main Street meeting one time. So that's the person that we'll be talking with. So kind of looking forward to seeing what happens with that grant, you know?
Yeah.
So That was strange, that connection that happened like that. Okay, so now we're...
Question?
Go ahead, Marie.
Kelly, question on the MDA event. Do we know what that's going to be yet?
What do you mean, sorry?
What type of event?
Yep, so the MDA does these events quarterly, and it's just more of a networking, and it always takes place in a different town.
Okay.
So this is more, they get all the managers and all the MDA members together, and it'll start at Fork and Pint in Lake Orion, do appetizers and things there, jump on the trolley, come down here and gather in the space. So,
Okay, thanks.
hoping that we'll have a good turnout for it.
Okay, other comments, questions? Okay. All right, on to item number 8, unfinished old business.
We have DDA reports.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm missing our reports. I just jumped right ahead. I'm so excited. Okay, organization committee report, Mr. Schultz.
We bounced around quite a bit. Mainly the meeting was going over projects that were out there, what the current status was. One of them was talking about the sidewalk leveling in the back of the buildings. We ran into a problem trying to do it on a Saturday morning when business was coming in and had issues with it. They were going to come back and regroup and try to pick another day, which I don't know if they got that far yet. We did talk about the planters just a little briefly, about them getting replaced this fall. And we also talked again about the parking lot project as far as what the status was, and working with the architect / engineering on that and getting that in process to go into there. And an update on the trolley, which we all just got on that, and that was about it.
And those sidewalks are scheduled for next Monday, the 25th, that they'll be out here. So Monday, many of the businesses back there are closed. And they're gonna go out early, trying to do it as quick as possible.
I don't know what committee, we talked at a couple of committees too, by the way, about recognition for volunteers, just so the board knows that's in the works. It's not anything specific at this point, but something that we want to put together. I think it's appropriate to say thank you to people who are volunteers. But, okay. Ashley Ross.
Hi.
Wait a minute, I have to do it like this, is that right?
Yes.
We had a really cool meeting this last time. So we have decided for the Economic Vitality Committee to start meeting at different locations every time we meet. And so this time we were actually just ventured out just slightly of the DDA district to White Pine Coffee Roasters, and they figured out who we were. We got a full tour and had a great conversation, so it was really neat. It led into a lot of discussion about everything that's happening. I'm trying to make sure I don't steal any thunder later on in the agenda. So we had our agenda, we had lots of good conversation there. There was initial talks about what would it take to look at the DDA district map and possibly do any redistricting if necessary, because an organization like White Pine Coffee literally falls, I think their parking lot might be in district, but their building isn't. And so what would that take to make this really great business be a part of our district? And is there any either growth or contraction that we want to look at? So it was just an interesting conversation and more conversation to be had around it. We continue to work on grants and the awards, and the trolley should have QR codes on it in the next week to start gathering some hard quantitative data around it so that we can make a formal recommendation and figure out what we want to do moving forward.
What will that do?
Well, whether or not we want to keep it.
I mean, when I come up there with my phone, what does that do?
You take a picture and it's going to take you to a Google form. So then, as a patron, you qualify once a month. If you take it, your name could be in a drawing for a $25 gift card to either Oxford or Lake Orion. And then on our end, monthly, we're going to be analyzing the data and seeing where we're at. So we also have a survey for businesses. A lot of our information is anecdotal right now, but it's extremely positive that we're showing about a 15% increase in sales across the board for businesses when the trolley is running. So we're just trying to quantify that to justify any expense going forward, whether it's we keep the trolley as is, we keep this partnership going, we purchase a trolley, we just don't know what we don't know still. We were delayed on gathering the data because the trolley wasn't running for a while, but I think also Kelly was able to figure out some kinks in the system and smooth those out for any further issues we might have with the trolley. So I think we're getting closer to being able to make a really informed decision on what to do after this year.
So Marie, you have your work cut out for you in filling out that survey.
No
It's
problem.
super easy.
As many times as you wish.
No, no, no.
And Brad from LaGrange was actually able to do those for us on SurveyMonkey and got them back to me tonight. So I'll have them, we'll print them off and have them tomorrow on the trolley.
Well, the QR codes, are they
Yep.
gonna link to a SurveyMonkey?
Yep.
Really?
So he has the data?
Well, yeah, but he can just share it right with us.
Okay.
Wait, would you explain, is it, you're saying people have filled out the survey, or is it ready to be put out for the public to use?
As soon as I pass it on to EV committee and you guys approve it, then we can pass it to the public.
We can have an emergency EV committee meeting as soon as you want.
If it's ready, I'll
Just email.
I'll
just email
email
it to you.
Yeah.
I
so-
just, my only hesitation is, and this is my control freak coming out, I don't like somebody else having complete access to the data and I have to rely on somebody else. Like, I already have it, so we're like running reports monthly and generating feedback. Like, I don't want any delay in getting that information.
So if I just get you a login?
That would be great. Well, thank you.
No,
Because when I have the time to do it, I want to be able to do it and be able to be on top of it. Thank you.
Yep.
You can tell them I'm a control freak, sorry.
well, so that's what we call accountability. It's just like when I mentioned to, Kelly about the money for the trolley coming in and then switching it over. I think we just want to make sure we know what's
Yes.
going on, Okay, anything else on EV that anyone wants to mention, discuss? So promotion committee. Who's the chairperson? Is that Nicolette? I
It
can't
was
remember.
Angie,
Or Angie.
but I'll take it for today. So we discussed concerts in the park and farmers market kickoff. Talked about the trolley, Washington Square ribbon cutting, which I had already mentioned all of these. Cruise night, which technically we're officially kicking off on Wednesday. We're going to open it up to the public after we do the ribbon cutting for the square. But we've been building it up each week and Scott really has been running that. We haven't had to do too much with that. The one we really wanted to talk about tonight, and I've mentioned it to some of you, is Scarecrow Fest and expanding Scarecrow Fest. So I did mention it to Org and I mentioned it to, I thought I had the paper in here, maybe I didn't, you guys, I'm sorry. What I would like to do is expand Scarecrow Fest to have a parade the day before. And reason being is because Scarecrow Fest is really our staple event and so many people in the community want something big. They talk about the Lone Ranger Parade or they talk about Celebrate Oxford and they said, what is ours? And so I thought, well, instead of recreating and reinventing the wheel, it'd be nice just to add on to something that's already working. And that way we can just add something on maybe each year and get bigger from there. So the idea is called Panic on Pontiac Street. And so we wouldn't close off M24, we would have the parade down Pontiac. And it would be Halloween themed and not going crazy with floats and everything, but I had gone to the Hadley parade on 4th of July and, taken my kids and just thousands of people in the small town of Hadley. But they had everything from really cool old cars to big tractors to the fire trucks to the police cars. And it was just really cool for the whole families to get together. And I thought, you know what, we can do that and we can do it easily. So I talked with Joe and I talked with Chief Sowald and they were both up for it. And then I asked Vicki to pull the addresses on Pontiac if we are gonna go through with this and just ask them to, decorate their houses and, get involved with us. And then the idea would be the next day to run Scarecrow Fest like we've done in the past, but maybe adding the fun run that we've talked about before. I had the school reach out to me and the cheer team, and they actually asked us about a 5K, and I said, well, we actually have been talking about one, but if you want to bring in 60 volunteers, then that would be great. So they were up for that, and they would be involved with that. So I don't know if this is something we need to vote on. Pete and I kind of talked about that this morning, and I guess I didn't really amend the agenda, Pete. So,
Didn't remember.
but I would like to just kind of add this on to Scarecrow Fest, not making a whole new event, but just making it 2 days rather than just one.
A few questions.
Yeah.
First, what is the date for Scarecrow Fest?
I believe it's the 2nd, is that Sunday of October? Yes, the 2nd. So the
October
parade would
2nd?
be The 1st, yeah.
Pete, does that work? Let's see if your calendar. Right?
I potentially may have a conflict with, that's normally the fire prevention open house is on that Sunday, the first Sunday in October, which wouldn't be fine, we could still run it in conjunction with, it's not a problem.
So you're thinking parade Saturday?
Yes,
October 1st,
Okay. And then Scarecrow Fest Sunday.
yes, yeah.
So I have a question, and forgive me because I wasn't able to be at the last 2 meetings. This is an example, and I don't know if it's, promo committee? Are we looking at all the events that we're currently involved in and saying, like, what can we give to get? And, like, ladies' night, I don't know how the attendance was. When I was there, it wasn't super popular, but it could have gone later. Is that something that we'd be wanting to drop to say, hey, let's do this and put resources towards here, or do we think we're just good?
the ladies' night's not ours.
No.
What's that?
Ladies' night is not a DDA event, that
Right.
is sponsored by the women downtown. We support them, but that is not our,
Right.
that's not ours.
But we did, I'll say this though, because I think de facto, I agree with you, Pete, but de facto it became our event. You know, Kelly was deeply involved.
I think as the supporting entity, I think people think it is our event, but again, we have so many of the businesses that step in. We don't really pay for anything. We're just kind of there keeping everybody together, but the businesses really are in charge of promoting, staying open, everything.
Yep.
Well, I think what you're hearing, Kelly, is the same thing about party planning versus
Sure.
other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So how much do we want to go toward the party planning, be it technically yes or no? There's crossing that line is what we're talking about.
Yes and no. I think, like, I mean, you and Kim are there. Maybe we're not paying for products or anything, but that's staff time, that's our time, that's stuffing bags. Like, it's one thing for the promo committee or whatever committee would like to do it and volunteer or find volunteers to do it, that's fine. But I think then when you're talking about staff time being allocated towards that, I don't know if we put anything in the bags or bought the bags, or I don't know. I'm just saying, like, if we want to do these other things, we're already at a max capacity.
Yeah.
So I just feel like we have to be very conscientious, and our conscientious gets away from all of us at times because we all just want to say, yes, this is great, and we know it's great for the district, but I just want to be careful about that. So I don't know if anyone else.
Is there another group that could do this, the parade part, and the DDA still do Scarecrow?
I don't know. I mean, potentially, we could see if we could find someone. I think for me, it was trying to think more so where's our staple event of the year? Like, I would just like to find
Soup and
some. Is it though?
I'd say we have that, I think it's more well attended, for sure.
I mean, when's Witches Night Out? Is that another one that's not technically ours?
Right, it's not,
Technically,
Not
it's
technically, but we end up doing
And
it.
that's what I'm saying, it's like we have all these that are not technically.
Right.
Well, like,
Right.
let's do something, if we're gonna do a parade and Scarecrow Fest and grow this over the years, let's
5K
allocate the resource. Yeah, the 5K, like, let's do it as good as we know we can do it. And then, I'm sorry, we just don't have the resources to do the other stuff unless there's going to be more volunteers.
So here's my thought on that.
Wait a minute. Dorothy?
May I talk? Sorry.
Yes, you may.
I think the Women's Night Out is geared toward the businesses, but I think that the Scarecrow Fest is more of a celebration of the town. So I don't feel that the businesses necessarily appreciate that event, nor would they appreciate a parade, especially because it would pull people away from downtown. That's just my 2 cents. I think that the Women's Night, you'll get a lot of people that are business owners say, that's where I get my income from because they come in to shop. It's geared toward that.
Yeah, retail did very well ladies'
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
And they do very well on Witches' Night, and I would say that the bars do better on Witches' Night than they do on Ladies' Night. But Witches' Night is one of those things that is followed not only in one town, but people go to Witches' Night in multiple towns. And Lake Orion does want to partner with us this year on that one to make it bigger. But the thing that we've heard in the past is there's nothing for the men. And so they want to do Warlock's Night and us do Witches' Night, but on the same night to try to draw out more of a crowd.
You know, at the luau, the ladies' luau thing, you know, I was there, you know, and did my little thing. I did not. You can borrow that if you wish, Pete. It'd be great in that fire truck. Careful, Brad's listening, I'm taking notes. Yeah, I agree. I think most of the activity there wasn't a lot of activity in Oxford that night. Mostly it seemed like it's centered in Orion. For whatever reason, I mean, that's just hearing it anecdotal, but...
I did hear good things from the businesses, mostly from retail.
But I'd like to see maybe, it says to quote Ashley, maybe something statistical as opposed to
That's kind of where I was
anecdotal.
going, is I would like the metrics to back it up. Not that I don't trust what you're saying, but like when I was there was almost no one.
Right, that's what I experienced too.
And if there's sales and everyone's in the stores, great. But like,
And maybe
didn't
that's
see it.
something we have to put to the businesses. This is what our thoughts are. Can you provide us some data with your numbers? You know,
I mean, we can take the trolley survey and incorporate that into any event. Like that
Right.
can just be copy and pasted and start gathering data. And I know people are surveyed out, but I don't want to keep throwing money and time and resources and people at things that aren't as successful other than, oh, well, we had a nice time. That's nice, but what does that really do for our district?
right.
Other comments?
Yeah, my opinion is that we need to focus on the events that are DDA events, like the Scarecrow Fest, and let the businesses run the other events, not that we need to kill the event, you know. I mean, it's still going to go on and it's still generating, you know, something positive for the businesses, but rather than diluting our efforts, we just need to focus on the DDA events and find the volunteers and the manpower for those and support the other events without actually working them.
So, I mean, as far as the Scarecrow thing, you'd like to keep Scarecrow and have the parade separate, maybe a different group do that? Is that what you're thinking, or?
No, I don't really have an issue with us doing the parade as a part of that. It's one event.
Right.
When is Witches' Night?
Let me see here. October 29th. It's always the Saturday before Halloween.
But now, that would not be a DDA event, though, that's what we're saying.
It's not currently either, so
Right.
it shouldn't be. It should remain a non-event.
I mean, going back, I think most of us aware that originally the DDA had talked about having 3 events a year. But as you're pointing out, we're kind of drifting into 6, 7 or more, but for no reason, you know.
We just need to be more disciplined, that's all.
Catherine, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with Marie. Let's just focus on the DDA events, let the businesses handle the business events, and, because, I mean, that's getting business in for them, they can handle it themselves.
Mr. Schultz, any comments at the far end down there?
I totally agree. I mean, this is what we went through 10 years ago with the whole hassle back and forth, and at that time we said it's, you know, sweet and sweet, soup and sweet, and it's, you know, Scarecrow Festival.
And
period.
concerts, yeah.
And, you know, we will support the Scarecrow, or the Witches' Night Out by basically saying, yeah, we can print a couple flyers for you, or, you know, a little bit like that. We will support the Ladies' Night Out as far as doing, you know, the same kind of a thing like that. But it's, I mean, it's not intended for our office staff to be down there running it or doing anything like that, nor is it expected of our volunteers to, you know, the same thing to be doing it. It's the business-oriented event both nights, and it's the one thing that we tried to get going, and that's what Main Street told us 10 years ago we need to do, is we need to involve the community and involve the business owners, and if it's their event, let them have the ownership of that event, and, leave it alone.
I can see us like, sure, we're gonna run the trolley for you and we will decorate it and make it cool. That's something I think we could do. We're supporting, you're using our stops, great. But the rest falls to everyone else.
Yeah.
We're all saying the same thing.
What do you think, Kelly? What's your thoughts?
I hear you 1,000%. And I know what the DDA's purpose is and I fully understand it. I watched Witches Night fall apart last year, letting the business owners do it and trying to step away.
What do you feel that is?
I think anytime you have too many cooks in the kitchen, that's just kind of what happens. You have business owners, I think, usually have very, very strong personalities, and I love that about them, and usually they're go-getters, but when you have that many strong personalities who all think that they know what is the right way to go, it gets messy.
You know what, maybe the role of the DDA would be,
Sorry?
Wasn't the weather a factor last year?
No, the weather was great last year.
but maybe the input of the DDA then would be, if you have that, as we're saying, let the business owners run Witches Night, maybe it would be to coordinate a meeting with them and let them do it, but not do it for them. That might be the way to say, hey, we'll help you, we'll set up a meeting here, or wherever else, but you guys gotta run with it. And quite frankly, as I said last time, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. C'est la guerre.
Yeah, it needs to be very clearly stated what exactly the DDA is going to do
Right.
for that particular
But I think
event.
the perception now
and
is
what
we're
they're
all
not
saying
going
is
to
it
do.
seems like the DDA is taking ownership of a lot of things.
I'm gonna play a devil's advocate here. I actually don't mind if, like, Witches Night is a DDA event if we're incorporating it into this overarching Scarecrow Fest branding.
Well, it's not, it's separate.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty, is that promo?
That's promo.
Okay, so let's go on the design committee then.
No report.
We did not meet.
That was fast. Okay. Can we approve that?
That was easy.
Make sure Brad doesn't fall asleep now.
I'm doing fine.
Okay.
It's all coming back. I'm not sure I will-
You can run out now.
Withdraw my application.
It's been notarized. Okay, unfinished old business.
Stars and Hope project, I threw a photo in there. I'm sure you've all seen it live, but just wanted to show you how great it looked. And Ashley and her family were amazing and went and put up a lot of those stars with her kids. So thank you, Ashley.
I do have one question about it.
Yeah.
Did we ever get signage going for the whole Washington Square?
It's ordered for everything, not only for the Stars and Hope project, but for just the square in general.
I know it wasn't technically a DDA project, but it's in kind of a DDA space. So
Yes.
every time I drive by, there's people engaging with it, which I'm happy to see, so.
Are we acknowledging the property owner allowing us to use this property in signage?
So he will be there at our ribbon cutting Wednesday. He's loving everything. He's like, I follow you guys on Facebook. I love everything that you're doing. And he's just kind of letting us do whatever we want in that
No, I
space.
know, but is an acknowledgement, because I don't know if the general public even knows that. You know what I mean? Like, it would be nice as some way of publicly thanking him
Acknowledge.
to have,
So we can add him.
I'm just asking.
We absolutely can.
When we do our
Yeah.
recognition event, that would be,
So we're recognizing him at the event on Wednesday.
Nice.
I was actually gonna have him do the honors of cutting the
Aw.
ribbon, just to
Neat.
thank him.
That's awesome.
We've also, every article that they've done mentioned his name and had made sure that people knew that that space, he owns
Belongs
that
to-
space
yeah,
and
yeah,
was letting us utilize it. So
Awesome.
I've always tried to make sure that he's in the conversation.
Awesome.
Will signage be up by the event?
No,
Do we have an E ETA?
think next week, but I can't tell you what date. Let me see. I can look up the email for you.
That's fine, I just want to be able to close out this report, and
For
so
sure.
that would be part of it.
What's the signage gonna say? What is it?
The signage for the Stars of Hope project has to acknowledge the organization that was part of like the application process.
for county community.
Okay,
Thank you.
item 8B.
Pete has a, Pete has a.
Oh, Pete, I'm sorry.
Kelly, is there gonna be a sign, again, posted, or you're talking signs, that's going to say, again, his name on there for the donation or the use of the property, Birmingham seal coat for the stuff that goes in there, Ajax asphalt, to,
Like a thank you.
Oxford Bank for
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
tables and chairs,
So
and
they're all added and then
everybody?
everybody's added on there. And then the mural also has one with everybody's name. So every piece in that space has a separate sign. The one for like Birmingham and Ajax, I also put on there Simple Organic because they donated and made the cornhole boards. That'll be in there. Oxford Bank for the $1,500, and then Summit Physical Therapy donated the big fire pit, if you guys saw that out there. They put it in there today.
I don't believe I wrote that.
Remember me talking to you, asking you about this? Remember that little
I don't
conversation?
believe anybody's applied for a burning permit yet.
I know.
It's a grill. It's a grill.
It's electric, you plug it in.
It's a grill, it's like fire.
Take note. Seriously, you know, that's where we,
The grill was donated.
Just for the record, I did ask Pete before.
whoa.
I'm just saying.
We just have to follow up with the permit process.
Okay.
Yes, we don't want
We talked to Kim.
Funny.
to, okay, can we go on to 8B now? Ashley, could you discuss the bylaws, and I'll give you the lead in for this, is at the at the org committee, rather, we talked about this for months and months. And the idea is to put some formality to some of the things we do on committees, but not make it overly strict. So we went through it, and then Ashley had sent me a note saying there's a few things on there, some typos and some questions. So if you want to just
Yeah.
kind of go through that a little
So,
bit, please.
Again, I apologize because I know I missed the last two meetings where I'm sure we approved to push it on to council. And it was initially supposed to go to council this week, and this is my own backlog. There were just a few things in there that I really wanted to clean up and some questions that I had. So you know, little things like typos like DOA instead of DDA, and I know that
DOA.
the council's gonna catch it. So.
That's what you call a Freudian slip.
Just little things, and making sure that our new language that we've added in matches the new forms and everything that's been in there in the past. So I am a little backlogged right now with writing the awards, which are due by August 1st. And so my goal is to hopefully get it back in time for our next meeting here to go to the next council meeting. They're really minor. I think that they're in overall great shape, and the changes have been excellent, especially like taking out the events and making it a lot more flexible for what we're doing now. But that's why it's kind of back up, just because I know council reads every word in their packets, and they'll also see those things, so.
Well, the idea would be too is, you know, you and I can talk about it, and then I think we revisit it.
Yes.
The org committee, and then to the board here, and then to the village council. And the rule is, the old Ben Franklin, anything worth doing is worth doing well. So, and once again, the idea is has some kind of structure without having a straitjacket on. So, you know, the committees, et cetera. And yeah, I'm happy with that. And the other thing, kind of ties in with that too. Kim Smith and I talked about this, and Kelly and I talked about it too, a manual for new committee folks and board members, which it's taken a while to do, but what I'm thinking is that when people come on board, be it on a committee or a board member, they have something that has a map, who's on, what are the bylaws, some kind of an idea about Robert's Rules of Order, and then some information about the TIF plan, those kind of things. So I would ask anyone, if you have some things that you would want put in a packet and would give to somebody, let me know ASAP, would you please? And I don't want, as I said to Kelly, we don't want something that's 4 pounds that you just stick on a shelf somewhere in your house. I want something succinct that will actually read it, but then cover some of the salient points. So like I said, what's the map of the DDA? Because a lot of people don't know what a DDA is. Pete?
I believe when Joe Frost was the director, he did put that entire thing together, and we did pass them out to the members.
Yeah, and I have a copy of that, but it's grossly outdated. And it was rather lengthy, so I'm looking for more highlights rather than...
A lot of information, though, that's...
I'm not saying we wiped that out, but I didn't see a reason to put the entire TIF plan in there or the state legislation from 2018, which is about, what was that, Kelly? About 75 pages or something like that?
Some of the things that I just put on there were, you know, when trying to remember, like me coming in, what I needed to know about, you know, even the difference between the Main Street program of the DDA and then like the government portion of the DDA, and then committees, and just understanding those little differences that I think we take for granted because we know now, but for somebody coming in, like it would be nice just to have a roadmap.
And that's the idea, not a substitute for that necessarily, but that's a great description, a roadmap, you know. What is the DDA district? Where are the boundary lines as they are currently? You know, what are some ideas roughly on Robert's Rules of Order? That cool stuff. Yeah, well, just like we said about going to White over the coffee shop, you know, the parking lot is in the DDA district, but the building is not. And if you want to change boundary lines, how do you do that? You know, and they're going through that in Orion right now, aren't they? So, you know, that's the idea, that's the goal. So if you have some thoughts, as Pete just said, you know, say something. I'm meeting with Kim Wednesday morning. The gentleman in the back, please.
So, yeah, a year or two, I don't care when he put together a little orientation package, I think before Kelly was here about that time. She included the Open Meeting Act in there too. Some people have to be aware of that. A little Robert's Rules cheat sheet, I think she had in there.
Yep.
Just some of the simpler things, but yeah.
Could you make sure that Kim has that before we talk on Wednesday? You know?
I
I
think
printed it out for her.
Yeah, I located it and I put it in the spot where she now has it. And
Okay. I mean, I brought some stuff here if you want to see it. Obviously, list, you know, who's on the DDA board. There's a few things missing there, the mission and vision. And even, I think, Kelly, this was your idea about maybe just a one-pager on like the budget items, you know.
It's nice to know where things are going, you know, or, you know, what are some of the numbers. Just, you know, some of this is foreign if you're just coming in.
But the roadmap is the best description, so. Anyhow, that's in the works. Should we skip 8C?
No, because they were reading for
It's
it.
getting kind of late, and I know.
Yeah.
All right, so who would like to lead that discussion?
Actually,
Okay.
go ahead. Do it. No, do it.
Maybe both should go stand at the microphone.
Go ahead.
No,
Oh, come on, go stand at the microphone, both of
I
you.
did the boring part. You have the exciting part.
Okay.
No, it's a team effort.
I got the email this past week that we received the $250,000 Consumers Energy Grant. After communicating with their PR team today, we were one of two. So I
Whoa.
found that out today.
Who's
Yeah.
the other then?
Miss Egan actually received one. So pretty exciting. So their team and I have a call this week where we're going to put together some kind of just celebration award presentation where their team comes out and kind of like the T-Mobile one that we did. And then the real work starts because we have a lot to do. So just getting more quotes, you know, it was easier with the T-Mobile one because we were working with Les Thomas and his full team of contractors, but now we need to go out and find our own. So it's, I'm thinking more of a spring project probably at this point, but if we can do a couple of things, we will.
What are some of the highlights you're thinking about shooting for?
So this, about 150 to 175,000 of this will go to the back quadrant, the northeast quadrant. So Red Naps, Problem Pregnancy Center, the schools right along Grab Cap. All of that space was going to get leveled with the sidewalks anyways, but we held some of that by the school out, hoping that this might come through, and it did. So that space will really become a community space where people can gather. We'll have seating that's part of social district, which is wonderful. Hopefully expand the speaker system, Rod Charles. Do you like how I just threw that in there? We had Nick Hatman, who did the mural in Washington Square, mock up a mural for that back space. So really trying to make it just very vibrant and some place that people can gather. Our idea is to get people into the backs of the buildings where they're coming in and entering in anyways, and hanging out in downtown and being here and not just walking into a business and out or into a restaurant and out, but really wanting to spend their time here. So the other spots were behind Evergreens and Casa, that kind of area. Ashley and I walked around when we first applied for the grant. And then the third area where the park has the large cement tables right now, expanding that and rounding that off, and then putting some new tables. Some of those cement tables are pretty badly cracked, and we think that we can kind of configure it to make more seating because it really does get utilized during concerts in the park. And if we expand social district, which that's coming, Joe, just so you know, into the park.
Hey, I'm not the one stopping, it's the ordinance.
Yeah, we need to change the ordinance first, but that would be a really neat space then to expand social district. So that's our hope, is that we can get all 3 spaces done, and when we did the budget, I think that we can get close. So
Might see a lot less coffee mugs in the park.
that's great.
On the 90-degree days.
Pete, I'm going to ask you, I mean, this is talk about funding and grants and things, because T-Mobile and then the Washington Square, what's the dollar sign you would put on Washington Square?
So
I mean, as far as what was contributed, so to speak.
yeah, so Washington Square was just over 50,000 of contributions.
So now 250. Pete, in your tenure here, have we seen anything like this?
I think we saw one for like $1,000 one time.
Dorothy, have you ever seen anything? I mean, you and I and Pete,
No, not to this degree.
We're close to about
Absolutely not.
$400,000 between grants in kind and donations.
That's awesome.
can you put a metric? Can you
About
identify that?
About $400,000. So
Yes.
from grant making, we have we have $301,000 for grants. We have $50,000 in the donation. We have $1,500 in furniture. In terms of in kind, that's people's time and labor would make up whatever that difference is, probably close to
Well, plus I remember,
$30,000-$40,000.
and Angie's husband had done some work too, right? Mm-hmm. So.
I mean, we could be upwards of 400. That's just my initial figure, just right off the bat, knowing.
I mean, folks, that's pretty amazing, don't you think?
Yes.
I mean, wow, congratulations, both of you. Go ahead, Joe.
Not to be the fly in the ointment, but I'm gonna. Kind of like the Northeast.
Oh, you're all done. Thank you very much, Mr. Medor. Let's move on to the next item, please.
All these projects involve village property and infrastructure to some degree, so our engineers and our planners will be involved to ensure that the finished product is
Sustainable.
well designed and well engineered.
Awesome.
But they're the best to work with.
That's not
so
why, that's an important part.
That's huge. And just the fact that you guys are always willing to help us. And I mean, even on the T-Mobile grant, they waived all the public space permits that we would have needed for that project. So they waived all of those fees for us. And DPW, just for example, like last week, they were coming in to look at the leveling of the sidewalks before they come in this Monday to do it. And, they said some of those tree grates, we really shouldn't be leveling with those down. So I called Don and I was like, hey, do you think we can get them up? And literally like 2 hours later, he's like, okay, they're all pulled. And it's just things like that I feel like the teamwork between the DDA and the village is it's powerful and it's amazing. And just to see that communication there, it's such a blessing.
That's what I mentioned. I think to keep that going is really important. Be it a recognition thing that includes the village. I've repeated it several times. That's something we need to do. Pete?
With the removal of the tree grates, which is pretty much going to be all of them throughout the whole village, can we in turn solicit bids, whatever, and sell them? Because if they're not going back down. And it would make sense to turn around.
Other than scrap, you're saying?
Well, I think we could get more than, we'll get good money for scrap metal, but at the same time,
Those are expensive to
if you
buy.
advertise that whole thing through the municipal thing, whatever, then you should be able to get somebody that would be another community that might be looking for it. So.
I took that on you, Joe, to tell me.
Yeah, I'll get with Don and see if he can sell what if there's any bad ones that wouldn't be worthy, but for the most part, I would think, yeah, they'd be blasted and painted and we're like new again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, those are, I've looked at purchasing myself, those in the past.
Now, I'm just happy to see tree gates go, because that kind of means the trees are going.
Takes care of the trip hazards and everything on it too, so, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. That's a great idea. So, do you want to further talk about this a little bit? I mean, how about this? Can I ask you guys, in the process for writing the grant, just give us without having our meeting go on for just a little bit of a synopsis of what you had to do? I mean,
Well, Fridays I go to Kelly's office with my dog and we close the door and so he doesn't run away. No, so each grant is different. We figure out spaces that, who as community members, business owners are really invested. Where do we know DPW Village is saying, like, here are some problem areas, and trying to highlight those spots first. I mean, for the T-Mobile grant, we had a business owner who was willing to contribute a large portion of the funding, so putting in our little bit and, getting the design, that was kind of straightforward. When you have community buy-in, it makes everything else really easy, and then we've kind of just built off of that going forward with these other spaces. With Washington Square, we have a property owner who's willing to let us, have carte blanche to make it a really cool, engaging space. And we have these 4 quadrants, and yes, they're walkable, but if you're going out on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night without an event, you probably know where you're going, and so probably going to stay within that quadrant. But we want people to come back and experience all 4, so we're really trying to spread that out. Each grant requires something different in terms of what they're asking and what they want. Some of them, like the consumer's energy, we took a little bit of a risk by hiring a designer so that they could visually see our mock-up. That was money that we didn't necessarily have budgeted. We know that our budget was healthy, so we could afford it, but we took the, whatever $1,000, $2,000 hit at the hope of trying to show them what $250,000 could really do for this community. So there is time investment, financial investment going into it, but it's been working out, knock on wood.
and then
Ashley is the grand ninja. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, I could not do this without her. She will sit in my office and she'll be typing away and just be like, okay, what do you think of this? And then we'll go back and forth. But then she's just like in it and tells this beautiful story. And then we had to gather so many letters in support. And the village was wonderful at giving us those. Chief Sowell wrote an awesome letter just about even just the safety gathering in the backs of the buildings rather than on M24. It was a great letter. We had Mr. Weaver write a letter because it's in the back of the schools where, that school staff can come out and enjoy lunch outside now. We're gonna have space for them to do that. So we not only told the story, but then we got other people to tell the story.
Kelly does that. I'm like, we need this, and she's like, oh, fine. No, she very willingly goes out and has the relationship with everyone that we're working with to be able to ask for those letters of support or a budget or an in-kind to go along with it, which makes all of our applications so much stronger.
the dynamic duo.
Can we be sure it's saying that?
And the same thing I would assume, I mean, I shouldn't say assume, the coach would say something nasty about that on this DTE project.
As soon as I know what it entails, absolutely.
Hopefully it's due like September. I need some time.
I'll give Jennifer a call tomorrow morning and see what, and then what I would like to do is then pass it off to experts.
Well,
I don't mean that facetiously, but that's...
I would really love to, if any of you or if you know of anybody in our district that is interested in doing a project, like we have been doing a lot focused on these 4 quadrants, but obviously our district is bigger. So are we looking at something that I have kind of an EV committee coming up is like, what about coming in and out of the district? What about the district that expands to the south? What can we do to really make it a lot more holistic? Because right now I think there is a lot that happens where people think that the downtown 4 quadrants is all the DDA is, and it's not. So I would love to start expanding our reach and really bringing everyone into the fold as much as possible. So if you have anyone that you know wants to partner or has ideas, we can find grants and projects and figure it out together.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Sirs. I guess you should come down to earth now and talk about sidewalks. Huh? Anything there you want to repeat?
We actually just mentioned it
Okay.
earlier, so the August 25th, or July 25th date.
Okay, so if it's okay, we'll go to 9A, filing of resignation letter from Angie. I guess that's pretty self-explanatory.
We have to accept it?
Make a motion
Yeah.
to accept the letter.
Sorry.
Okay, let's do a voice vote then. All in favor of accepting her resignation, say aye.
With
All
regrets.
opposed? So, as Ashley said, with regrets. DDA board recommendations. I'll talk about it, and Kelly, you want to fill in the blank a little bit there too. There's two people for board that live in the district, which is amazing, since the population is, what, roughly 100 people? So to have two people that live in the DDA district at the same time is strange, but I've been trying to meet with them. One of them is in Norway right now, and so we'll set up a Zoom meeting just to talk or do whatever else. The other person I was supposed to meet with, but his schedule got changed, so I'm meeting with him tomorrow morning. I haven't met with them. I've talked on the phone. They seem like they're qualified, but my goal would be kind of like what we said with the manual. I'd like to give them the roadmap of what DDAs do so they know what's involved, and maybe they'll change their mind. I don't know. But that's pretty much the picture right there.
You scare them when we're out, Rod.
If telling them the reality, it scares them, I'll say, you got to deal with a couple of people over here on a daily basis, or at least a monthly basis. You know, maybe it's own Scarecrow Festival. So, comments from you, Kelly, on the two people here?
Grace lives above one of the businesses. I met her, really liked her. I asked her if she was interested in, literally had her application within 24 hours filled out on my desk. I think she'd make a great addition to the team. And then Bryce actually came to spring cleanup with his wife and volunteered the whole day, and then we started chatting, and when I heard he lived in the district, I was like, hey. But great, they both bring, I think, a ton of energy, both very young and wanting to get involved, and I think they would both be awesome. And we
Well,
have
Bryce did
spots to
indicate to me
fill.
there might be some scheduling issues with his job, so
He
it might
does
not
travel.
be...
He does travel for his job, but I think that, you know, having the schedule beforehand, that he'd be able to make it work.
So to the board, I pose the question, should we vote on them tonight, or should we wait and have a chance for me and/or somebody else on the board to meet with them and discuss this with them? Some conversation,
I
Catherine?
prefer that we have some more input, that you would meet with them first, because I would be voting blind right now. I wouldn't have really not much to go on.
I echo that, and I kind of recall having to come in front of this board to kind of introduce myself and turn in my paperwork back in the day.
Back in the day,
Yeah.
and let me ask everybody,
It'd be nice to get a feel for the person.
Marie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I want a little bit more time to,
Okay. Peter?
I agree.
I mean, I really like these credentials, seeing as they mirror mine quite well. But no, I would like to at least meet them and know them, because I don't know either one.
Right.
Well, as I said, tomorrow I'm meeting with Bryce. In fact, we're meeting at White Pine. He hadn't been there before, so I suggested that after our wonderful meeting we had and have a conversation with him. Would you like me to report back to the board, or does someone want to join us, or what?
I have a
Or-
question.
Go ahead.
Have it come to the next meeting.
Ashley?
Are we trying to choose one or the other, or are they both? Okay, I would just, for my preference would be just, can they both come to the next meeting?
Yeah.
Would you like that instead? Mm-hmm. Okay. The only concern would be having a quorum at our next meeting. So what's the next date on our next meeting? I don't have it in my head.
That's bottom there, 15th of August.
Because if we're missing one person, we're kind of cooked, right?
We can miss
Oh, no,
one.
it's all right. No, okay, we can.
One of you can skip.
So we'll have to look at our schedules and things like that. So we'll have them come to the next meeting. I'll mention that to Bryce. And as I said, I've got a Zoom meeting I talked with her about, and I'm impressed with both of them myself so far, just to let you guys know. So, all right. And I'll mention that to him as well, Kelly, when I meet with them.
Sounds good, yep, and I'll follow up with an invite to them.
And I agree with Ashley. I like the resumes a great deal. Okay. Items moved from consent agenda, 9C. Anything there? Nope. Board member comments. Ashley? Dorothy?
I just had a question on the July huddle.
Oh,
Are these brainstorming ideas, or what is this fact?
Oh, so that's everything that we went over with the business owners for the July huddle.
Okay.
So we do a 30-minute meeting, and it's pretty much 30 minutes to give them as much information as we can, everything that's going on that month. And then also to take any questions rather than, them having to email us a couple of times the month. We can just get everything out right there. So we usually have anywhere from like 10 to 15 business owners that attend.
Yeah. So one other question. The facade grants for the rear entrance.
Yes.
The bullet point, is that what is actually covered under those rear entrance grants?
Let me get to that. Let me see where you're at.
Because it says cleaning, and I guess I was under the impression it was always like touchable objects that was covered under those
Well, we were
grants.
trying to keep the rear very broad, just to clean it up. So one of the businesses, they didn't apply for the grant, but they asked, could we have the back of the business power washed rather than, us just painting it? They'd come in, scrub it down, can that be part of it? And I figured yes, just because they have to power wash before they paint. So I thought that should be underneath the grant, as long as they're matching it the 50%. Because it isn't only a match grant. We're not gonna provide everything.
Marie? I'm sorry, you done, Dorothy?
I am, thank you.
Marie, comments?
No, I just wanted to acknowledge and thank Ashley and Kelly for the excellent work on the grant. Truly amazing, and it'll really benefit the community. Thank you.
Mrs. Coleman?
Fantastic news. Great work.
All right.
Ashley, Kelly, great job. Again, I think it takes a little bit of a dream, a little bit of a foresight to try to dream ahead to what it actually could be like, and you're putting it on paper and putting it to them, and I think that's more than something I can do. I mean, I could look at it after you got it and I can make it happen, but I can't dream it in the first place, so I commend both of you for that part of it, so good job.
And I'll finish by saying the same things, and I think, as Kelly and I have talked about, and others too, I think Kelly's done a great job as executive director, and Joe, appreciate your input most of the time. I can't give the guy a blank check, and the board too. I don't know how, Pete and Dorothy, since we've been here a long time, it seems, but it seems like the board in general has been doing a pretty good job overall.
Yeah.
Some really good
Exciting
teamwork,
times, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's pretty exciting, so,
I appreciate hearing your process too. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah. Okay, so, let's see.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion seconded and thirded. Okay. Motion adjourned.